Man, I gotta tell you, CNN is it's the worst network. It's the worst network on earth. If you don't watch it, then you don't know. You can't really understand how bad it is. But I gotta tell you, the president just had this clean bill of health. Now, if you believe for a second, well, welcome back, everybody. If this is your first time to the show, my name's Jason Stapleton. This is the Jason Stapleton program. We're getting new listeners again and again every single day, people coming in to check us out. So if this is the first time, welcome. You're joining a whole host of other people who come every single day to listen to an alternative to the news that hopefully provides you a little more insight and a little more detail than you're going to get by watching, for example, CNN. So basically, CNN has become the anti-Trump network. It's kind of like, remember when Breitbart used to be like a legitimate place to go and get news, and then Donald Trump ran for president, and now you can't even bother going there because everything is just propaganda for Trump and the Trump campaign? That's what CNN is in reverse. Now, some of you are going to say, Jason, how naive you are. How naive to believe that they weren't always that. But, look, there was a time when when news organizations tried to hide their biases. Now they're just out in the open about it. They don't care. They're just out flagrantly flaunting the fact that they either want the president to fail or they want him to win. Now, that used to be reserved for people like me, the pundits, guys who talk about stuff. Because really, I'm not a journalist. I mean, shoot, I'm one man running an entire show right here, trying to vet all the news articles and trying to get here and provide you some sort of value for the time that you're spending with me. I'm not a journalist. I don't do that for a living. If I was a journalist, I would try and report facts about what was happening and try and tell the truth, which is what I try and do here, but with a political slant. Because let's face it, I'm slanted. I have a motive. I am here for a reason, and that is to try and convince you that the 5 principles of liberty that we talk about on this show, limited government, individualism, peace, tolerance, and free markets, create more wealth, more opportunity for more people than any other system devised by man. Now, if there becomes a better system, if someone invents a better mousetrap, then I will be the first person to shift forward, because my belief is simply that I want the most amount of people to succeed as humanly possible. That's what I want. I want you to have more opportunity than anybody else ever in human history. Now, what you do with that opportunity is completely up to you. That's not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for figuring out how you utilize your opportunity in order to create wealth and abundance in your life. I can help you with that kind of stuff, but that's not really why I'm here. What I'm here to do is teach you the principles of economics and help you understand the politics that are going on around you so that you can, of course, make better and more informed decisions about your life. CNN, on the other hand, is there apparently to just bag on Trump. And, of course, the president came out, clean bill of health. His doctor said he's the healthiest man that he's ever seen, or whatever he said. No illnesses or issues at all. He's the best. He's the very best there ever was. And everybody's looking around going, well, did you expect anything different? I mean, think about it. Did you really expect the president's doctor to come out and say, well, he's 71 years old. Guy's got some problems. Yeah, he's got a little bit of issues here he's got to work out. Cholesterol might be a little bit too high, or he might have a couple of issues he needs to work on. The man is 70 years old and he is 230 something pounds. And I don't care whether you're 6'1" or 6'2" or 6'3". That'll be important in a minute. Whether you're 6'2" or 6'3", 230 pounds is overweight. So unless you're a bodybuilder. So anyway, obviously, the president, there's got to be something wrong with the president. He can't be perfect, but of course he's not going to let that out because he's the president and everything he does is the best and he is the best and he is the greatest and there's nothing wrong with him at all. And so he's got to make some stuff up, and he comes out and then the doc says, no, he's fine. He's perfectly fine. Now, whether or not that is true, I have no idea. As I said, I think it's ridiculous to think that a 71-year-old man who's 235 pounds, 238 pounds doesn't have any health issues at all. It's absurd. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's the one guy on the planet who doesn't have those type of health issues. So what then? What do we do about it? Well, CNN has to come out and refute it. And so they start, this is Allison Camerata, who wants to talk about Trump's body mass index. Now, he says he is 6'3", And in other filings, apparently somewhere he was 6'2". And the reason that this is important is because if he is 6'2" rather than 6'3", that 1 inch moves him from the healthy to overweight category. And so naturally, Alison Camerota, formerly of Fox News, came out, which just, by the way, if I can just sideline here, if you want to see these guys are, excuse the term gay for pay, but that's what these guys are who work in the media. Many of them who work for Fox News are not conservative. They're absolutely, they will assume any political position that you want as long as you're paying them. And Alison Camerota is the greatest example of that, because when she was at Fox News, she was all kinds of right-wing, and she moves over to CNN, gets herself a new job, and magically, all of a sudden, now she's a left-wing pundit. So listen to Alison talk about Trump's BMI. Now, she has two people on her show. She has a guy by the name of Kevin O'Connor, who was Biden's former physician, and she also has Sanjay Gupta, who is on the payroll at CNN. Now, that's important, too, so pay attention. This is what she says about the BMI index.
Here is President Trump's official body mass index. He is reportedly yesterday 6'3" tall, though that is different from previous official exams where he was 6'2". So somehow he has grown while being in the White House. And his weight was 239, meaning his body mass index is 29.9. What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, this is math. This is based on the numbers that Dr. Jackson provided, and this is a body mass index ratio. A body mass index is not a perfect ratio by any means, but it is a good sort of indicator. And at 29.9 means someone is overweight.
Now that's Sanjay Gupta talking there. So she first goes to Sanjay on the payroll at CNN, and she says, well, what do you think about this fact, the body mass index? And Sanjay's trying to thread the needle because he is a doctor, and so he can't just come out talking all kinds of craziness. He's got to actually make a case. So he says, well, yeah, it's a high number, and, body mass index, there's all kinds of problems with that, which is true. There are lots of problems with using the body mass index to determine whether someone is overweight. For example, if they have high muscle mass, you will have a higher BMI, and you could be viewed as unhealthy or overweight when in fact you're in phenomenal or fantastic shape. So BMI is not perfect, but he says, it's a little bit, it's a thing. So then she goes to Kevin O'Connor, Biden's former physician, for his reaction. This is what he had to say. Now remember, Kevin not on the payroll, Sanjay on the payroll. Here we go.
Well, as far as the results, potato. Somebody's overweight or they're not overweight. And I really don't get hung up on a point here, there, point there.
But don't you think it's significant if you were in the obese category?
See how she jumps in. She jumps in on him and says, well, wait a minute. You're not agreeing with us. We're doing this entire segment to show that Trump may be sick even though he said he's fine. What do you mean?
It would be a significant word.
But Dr. O'Connor, do you think that the president's clean bill of health, that he did pass with the flying colors that the White House doctor was saying, or did you see any warning signs?
See, she's trying to walk him into it on the show. She's like, no. Hey, but obviously you didn't get the word. We discussed this before we were going to do the segment of what you were going to say and how you were going to agree and everything was going to go fine. And now here you are not doing what we want to do. This entire segment is to justify and prove that Trump did not have the flying colors evaluation that he said he did. And so she's trying to walk him into it. She's trying to do it, and he just won't go there.
I didn't see anything distressing. I view physical exams, they're either reassuring or non-reassuring.
So she gets no love, none at all, from Kevin O'Connor, Biden's former physician. So she turns back to Sanjay for help. She's like, Sanjay, throw me a bone here.
Sanjay, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did see some troubling signs when you look at the data. So let me put up for everybody, there's this thing called the calcium score. If you have high cholesterol, your doctor sometimes encourages you to get a calcium score to see if the plaque is already building up in your arteries. So in 2009, the president's calcium score before he was president was 34. In 2013, before he was president, it was 98. Today, it's 133. And as you see from the little cheat sheet fine print below, a score of over 100 means a high risk of heart attack or heart disease within 3 to 5 years.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is where CNN is at. They actually have gone to worrying about the president's calcium score into determining whether or not he is at a high risk for a heart attack or not. This is what passes as news at CNN. Now, they do wall-to-wall coverage like this. If you spend some time, see how long you can do it. Turn on CNN. Though I know a lot of you still have cable. You haven't cut the cord yet. You got CNN on there. You're going to have to go to, you got to get out of your favorites menu, and actually you have to go to a separate menu, because I know that you don't have CNN programmed on your regular scroll. Only nerds like me who are concerned about politics and economics are actually listening to CNN and are baffled and dumbfounded by what they hear. You guys have already left. But go back, find it in your total menu there on whatever platform you're using, and leave it on for 3 days. Like when you go to consume news, flip it on. You would normally go to Fox News, MSNBC, wherever you consume news. Go instead to CNN and see how long you can tolerate it. I bet you it's not longer than a day. Because if you listen to because a lot of the people who listen to this political show listen to lots of other political shows, and they're big consumers of political news. They watch the news on TV when they go home, and you're going to survive about 10 minutes, and you're going to realize I am learning absolutely nothing here. There is absolutely nothing I am learning from CNN other than the fact that President Trump is bad, and he says terrible things, and he's a terrible human being who's probably going to die. That's what you're learning if you go to CNN. And I remember we were in the old studios back in Kansas City, and Darren and I had left CNN on I did it for like 2 weeks. And every day, Darren and I would have the same conversation. Is what in the heck is going on? How is this news? None of this is news. I literally would listen to it for 2 hours and learn nothing. It would just be a discussion about how terrible Donald Trump is. And it's a shame because you need a good news organization in America, in every country. You need an unbiased news source that will come out and will tell you the truth and will give you the facts and will help you understand better what's happening in the world around you. And unfortunately, you're not getting that from the mainstream anymore. You've got to come somewhere like here to actually get that. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost, and you're going to be stuck listening to whatever they want the narrative to be. Now, as we go through the stuff today, we're going to talk about some of the things that everybody else is talking about. We're going to talk about the Republican funding, the stopgap bill that they want to put together, and what's happening with that, and whether or not there's going to be a government shutdown. That's important stuff to talk about. We're also going to talk about Ted Cruz and his comments about North Korea. They're idiotic. Ted Cruz's big thing is he uses this term called courageous. Everything's courageous leadership. I can't do a Ted Cruz voice, but I'm working on it. And everything is about being courageous. And yet very little of what his position involves is in any way courageous. What are the comments by Tulsi Gabbard, who is a congresswoman from Hawaii. And I'm going to play her comments for you and tell you a little bit about what she said regarding North Korea, because she was spot on. And then we've also got this triggered. The LA Times had an article out, why is liberal California the poverty capital of America? And I want to talk with you guys a little bit about success and what happens in a society when you provide certain incentives or you create certain regulation, and how that harms and damages both the people who are trying to pull themselves out of poverty and those who are in the middle class and sliding into poverty. So I'm going to trying to hash that article. And actually, I won't use the article the way it was intended, but I will try and use it to help you understand better what needs to happen. Because it's too easy to come in and just say, oh, yeah, California is terrible. The taxes are high, and there's so much bureaucracy, a bunch of liberals, a bunch of progressives. And, you're always getting in your business and causing problems. And the problem with that in that position is that you haven't explained anything to anybody. Like, nobody really understands why it happens. And so we'll talk a little bit about it before the end of the show and help you understand. But first and foremost, let me tell you about one of our great sponsors, Policy Genius. Guys, every year, 30% of people make a resolution to be more financially responsible, and most people don't follow through. As with any good New Year's resolution, it lasts until February, and then you're done. That's what a good resolution does. But if you are, one of the ways that you really are responsible, and it's called adulting, is that you grow up and you have a family, or you have someone else that relies on you, is you go out and you get yourself some life insurance, because it's important that if you die, in some tragic bear mauling while you're out camping that your family is taken care of. And Policy Genius is the easiest way to compare and buy life insurance online. They let you compare quotes from in just 5 minutes. It's almost unheard of to make almost unheard of that to be able to do that in that shorter period of time. So here's what I want you to do. You go there because it's a fantastic service. Make your New Year's resolution even better. Go to policygenius.com. It's the easiest way to compare and shop for life insurance. There is zero sales pressure, no hassle, no guy's going to freaking call you on the phone and try and harass you to buy insurance. You just get to look and find out what it's going to cost you to protect you and your family when something bad happens. And the biggest part is it's free. Free for free is the most financially responsible price. Policygenius.com. Get your New Year's resolution resolved in just 5 minutes. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk here a little bit about this Dreamer thing. House Republicans considered today a stopgap bill to fund the U.S. government through February 16th to avert a shutdown. But the measure would not include Democrat demands for protection against young people brought to the United States illegally as children. Now, many of these people are not so young anymore. Many of them are pushing 30. But nevertheless, there is still a problem with what do you do with them. And I talked about DACA earlier in the week and explained kind of what it is. But it was passed in 2012 by President Obama. They were trying to get the Dreamers bill done, right? We talk about Dreamers a lot. Well, that was a bill that they were trying to get passed, and it was facing all kinds of problems. So Obama stepped in using his magic wand of executive privilege and issued an executive order for all of these people who came into the country prior to 2007 and who were under the age 16 or under when they came in. So those were the standard. You had to come in before 2007, and you have to be 16 or younger when you came in order to qualify for this program. It was called DACA, and lots of kids were protected under DACA from deportation. Now, this makes sense because if you have a kid who came to this country because his parents took him here and he didn't have any choice in his own, then he shouldn't be responsible for the mistakes of his parents or for any illegal action by his parents. The sins of the father do not pass on to the son. This is kind of the belief system that we run under here. And it's important that when we look at these types of things, whether or not you believe that illegal immigrants, quote unquote, need to go back to their home and come here legally or not, is really irrelevant. The concern that I have is making sure that people who are here under no fault of their own and who do not know a homeland beyond America are not shipped out of this country like a bunch of rejects back to a place where they don't know so that they can try and come here legally, which America has made the legal process so cumbersome to come here legally that's why people come here illegally. It's not because they don't want to go through the legal process, it's that they can't. Nobody will allow them to come through the legal process. It takes 5 years, 10 years to get a visa to come here. And then you got to fight to stay. It's ridiculous. So anyway, now we got DACA. And President Trump came in and he said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end DACA in 6 months. I'm ending it, but I'm giving a 6-month reprieve so that you and Congress can figure it out. And you can work out a proposal that'll work. And he has this big meeting just the other day where he brought in Republicans and Democrats. He said, I think we're going to get a deal done. How awesome are we? Look at what a great negotiator I am and how well this is going. He says, if you bring me a deal, I'm going to sign it. Even if it's got stuff that I don't like, I'm going to do it because I know that we need to get something done. So he essentially said, if you bring me the deal, I will sign it. So Republicans, Democrats get together. They come up with a plan. They deliver it to the president. They say, here you go. And the president says, I don't like that one. I'm not signing it. This is what happened. There's no denying. I'm not spinning this. I mean, this is literally what happened. And so now we're facing both a financial issue in Congress because Congress can't seem to pass a budget and they can't seem to come to an agreement on what spending should be. And we've got the potential for this DACA thing ending in March and everybody's unhappy. And so now the Republicans are trying to get what's called a stopgap bill through Congress so that they can fund the government for a specific through February 16th. It's a temporary payment so that they don't have to essentially shut down the government. Now, this happens. It's happened many times before, and it always works the same way. There's a fight between the two of them. Normally it's Republicans who are threatening the shutdown. Republicans get angry about something. They're not getting their way, and so a shutdown happens. And all of these people are forced to go home without pay, and there's a huge deal. And last time it happened, Obama was like gating off parts of Washington, D.C., so you couldn't go to see the World War II memorial and, in the what's it called? What's that called? The quad. It's not called the quad, but it's where the Lincoln Memorial is and the big pond and everything. You couldn't go in there. It's ridiculous, right? And then what happens? They come to an agreement, and everybody who was on leave comes back to work with all their back pay. So every time there's a shutdown, all these guys do is get a paid vacation. But if you listen to the news, it's the worst thing ever. Oh, people are not getting paid. The government is not operating. People aren't going to get their welfare checks, and military isn't going to get their paychecks, and all this garbage. And it always works the same way. These shutdowns are nothing but a political game that the media loves to spin out of proportion. But Republicans who control Congress are expected to try to push another stopgap funding bill to President Trump's desk before midnight on Friday, because that is apparently the deadline before they have to start. See how everything takes till the last minute? Like, did you see them working on this before? No, they're working on something else. They literally can't fund the government. Why would you not be working on this if you were a business owner and you were looking at your numbers and you're like, man, by next Friday, we're not going to be able to keep the lights on around here. Maybe we ought to be working on that. Nah, let's not. Let's paint the walls. Let's go buy some paint because it looks a little shady in here. So let's just, put a fresh coat of paint on the walls. I'm like, well, yeah, what I really think we ought to do is we ought to get some signs. We ought to go out and pass out some flyers. Maybe instead of spending money on paint, we ought to spend some money on like advertising. Try and get some people in the door. Maybe we ought to offer a discount or something. Try and bring some people in so that we can sort of pay our bills into the following week. That's what you would do if you had a head on your shoulders, but that's not what government does, of course. No. What government does is they wait till absolutely the last minute, until it is a travesty, until we're going to have to lay people off before we do anything. Why? Because that's when you can get the greatest amount of crap attached to the bill, attached to the funding measure. That's when you have the greatest amount of leverage with all of the people who donate money to your campaign. That's why this is the dirty little secret about Washington. One of the reasons that it takes to the very last minute every single time before bills get passed, and they're unsure whether it's going to happen, and there's fighting and infighting between people, and people are on the fence about whether or not they're going to vote for something. They're not on the fence because they don't know whether they want to vote for it. The bill's there. They know up or down whether they want to vote for it or not. So what are they waiting on? Why haven't they announced? Because they're waiting on that money to come in. Because they got all these lobbyists who are banging down their door saying, which way are you going to go? What are you going to do? We really need to get this done. We really want to see X, Y, and Z happen. They're just like, well, I just really don't know. Don't know how this is going to play out. And then all of a sudden, a little donation comes in, fill them coffers up, and magically I made my decision. If you don't think that's the way it works, you're fooling yourself. That is the way Washington operates, and that's why the politicians have learned this. It's a beautiful sales game that they play. Everybody plays along. They wait till absolutely the very last minute so that they can get the campaign dollars in, so that they can angle for the best possible deal that they can get, and then they come out and do what they were going to do from the beginning. All right, now in regards to this stopgap bill, Democrats in Congress have insisted that the immigration deal, the DACA deal, be a component of the temporary spending bill. But Democrats are also set to win a very high priority item, which is not part of kind of unrelated. It's a 6-year reauthorization of the Child Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. So what the Republicans are trying to do here is they're trying to say, well, listen, we can't give you the DACA, but what we will give you is an extension on CHIP if you'll sign this temporary order going till February 16th. Now, Mitch McConnell warned that a government funding bill should not be held, quote, hostage by the immigration debate. Now, let me just point out how absolutely and completely absurd and laughable that is. Because Republicans were more than willing to shut down the government for everything. Like literally every time one came around, they were threatening to shut it down, and they actually succeeded a couple of times. Now, this DACA thing is actually legitimately important. I don't mean to sound like a raving mad progressive here, but this is people's lives. These are kids, many of them who have known nothing but the United States. And in March, they're all going to be subject to being shipped back to the country. And also, they're going to lose their jobs. So let me tell you a little story. I happen to be sitting around the Christmas table this last year, and there's a family friend who is, I think I can tell the story here. I'm going to tell the story anyway. I'm just not going to use any names. That way that nobody gets their feelings hurt. But there is a family friend who has been coming to Thanksgiving dinner for years and years and years and years and years. And his parents came here illegally, and they've been trying to get status, and he was protected under DACA. And he works at a job. He's been to college. I mean, he's operated just as an American citizen. He has been in America and has only known America. He came here when he was like 5 or 6 years old. Doesn't remember much of anything beyond being here in America. And the problem with this is, if DACA is not reinstated, not only is this guy going to be subject to deportation, but he's also going to lose his job because he cannot work if he's considered an illegal alien, which means the job that he has now, which is a good job, he is going to lose because he's now considered illegal. And there are thousands and thousands of these kids out there that are facing the same type of problems. They're in their mid-20s. They've been here their whole lives. They're working. They're improving their condition. They've been to college. They're educated, and they're going to be shipped back to Mexico. Like, that's a legitimate concern. And that's one of the reasons that I know a lot of you are looking at this going, well, and a lot of Republicans are looking at this going, oh, well, no. If Democrats cause a shutdown, they're going to be responsible for the shutdown. Well, first of all, at this point, we've had so many shutdowns in the last few years. Does anybody really care? Everybody knows the game. Everybody knows what's going to happen. The media is going to come out. They're not going to make a big deal about it. They're going to talk about how a deal will get worked out, and then everybody will come back, and they're all going to get back pay. The media is going to be there in full force, basically explaining what I just explained to you, because this time it benefits Democrats. And secondly, the argument is going to be, the discussion is going to be, this is about the children. It's about the children. Got to protect the children. Can't have, we've got all these children out there, and if they're here, we can't be sending them back. And so we are doing what we're doing to protect the children. And if you are not willing to protect the children, then how dare you? What kind of person does that make you? What kind of person does it make you if you can't protect the children? So you're basically just a terrible person. So we didn't want to have to shut the government down, but this is about our kids. It's about all those little Mexican kids, little boys and girls. We have to be shipping them back over the border. Little 5-year-old, little 6-year-old, little Susie and Sally. Actually, it's Jose. Jose's his name. We have to ship him back over the border. Why? Because the Republicans were unwilling to sign the bill. The president was unwilling to sign the bill that he said he was going to sign. This is the Republicans' fault. This is the president's fault, not ours. We're worried about the children. And that's what you're going to get. That is exactly what's going to happen when this thing, when the government shuts down. And it's funny because you read out of the NBC News here, it says the President Donald Trump is confident that the Democrats will take the blame if the government is shut down this weekend. No, they won't. No, they won't. Let me just help you out, Mr. President. No, they won't. He says, here's what Republican Charlie Dent said. He's a retired congressman, or is it congressman or is he a senator? Congressman Charlie Dent, former congressman. Says, when there's a shutdown, our side usually takes the hit. He says it will be difficult for us to deflect the blame, whether we deserve it or not. And he is absolutely, positively, 100% right on. There is no way that they are going to be able to deflect this thing away. The Democrats have the entire media base, and frankly, they've got the better marketing. Marketing message this time. I mean, this is a dream. I should be working in politics. I really should be, because I'm good at marketing, and the Republicans suck so bad at it. I don't know how you can be so good at getting reelected and be so bad at marketing. The Republican Party needs a serious marketing arm. And whoever's doing it sucks. Whoever's doing messaging for them absolutely blows. So let me I'm a mercenary. Anybody who wants to hire me to do their marketing, happy to do it for you, because you suck at it. and I will come over and I will help the Republicans craft a better marketing message, just because I can't stand to watch you suck so bad all the time. It's embarrassing for me. It's hard watching it. You know, that's how I feel about it. But anyway, we're going to move forward here on this Ted Cruz thing. I want to tell you what he said, and I also want to tell you what Tulsi Gabbard said as well about nukes in North Korea. But first, I want to tell you about Beachbody. Guys, I know Beachbody. It's funny, when I first started reading the Beachbody, they became a sponsor of the show. I had somebody who emailed me and said, "Oh, really, Beachbody? Oh, come on, Jason. What, you can't go to the gym anymore?" And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I've started doing P90X when I was downrange in Afghanistan. It's brutal. Absolutely brutal. Like, I cannot, it's maybe the best fitness program that I've ever done, next to being in a platoon in a reconnaissance team and showing up for morning PT. Short of that, P90X is absolutely crazy. I've also done Insanity, which is just, it's mind-bogglingly hard. So anyway, basically what I'm telling you is Beachbody is no joke. If you're looking to get in shape, and it is the new year, New Year's resolution, you're trying to figure out what to do, Beachbody is incredible. And now they have this thing called Beachbody On Demand, where you can access like 600 different trainings, like P90X, Insanity, 21-Day Fitness, T25, the 3-week yoga retreat, all of this incredible stuff. And you could do it just simply by texting 303030. And using the promo code Stapleton, and they're going to give you a free trial membership right now. Full access to the entire platform for free. All workouts, all nutrition information, all free. No need to go to the gym. Beachbody On Demand programs, over 600 different workouts. All you need to do, they've even got stuff on nutrition now that's on there, so that you can, not only are you working out, but you're eating right. This is a phenomenal program, and they're going to give you an entire membership for free if you just text Stapleton to 303030. So go do that right now, and actually help your New Year's resolution actually come to something other than just you making the resolution. All right. Now, let's talk a little about Teddy Cruz here. So Ted Cruz is concerned about North Korea, and he's angry that we have been worried for decades, 3 decades, wondering what North Korea would do next. He says it's time for North Korea to fear what America will do next. Because I'm sure they're not worried at all about that, given, what we've done with other countries and other rogue nations and other really, stable nations that just disagreed with us. I'm sure they're not worried at all about what America might do to them, Teddy boy. But he's got to talk tough. So Cruz labeled North Korea a mafia state, saying it depends on partners to help it work around sanctions and pursue a nuclear program. Cruz called for increased economic sanctions on both North Korea and third parties, such as banks that support the country, to cut off its economic support. He said, quote, "What the American people expect and the allies need is courageous leadership that forces Kim to respond to our terms and our timing." Now, ladies and gentlemen, is it really courageous? Is it really courageous to advocate for exactly the same thing that we've both been doing and advocating for the past decade? I mean, does that really require any stretch? And think about it from Ted's perspective. He's a conservative from Texas. Do you think that it's really a stretch for him to come out and talk tough on North Korea and suggest increased sanctions? Do you think that's really a courageous position for him to have? No. It requires absolutely no courage to come out and do that. Tulsi Gabbard, on the other hand, she's a Democrat from Hawaii, but if she was in Texas and she gave this opinion, then absolutely it would be courageous. Because here's what she had to say about North Korea and their nuclear program.
Democrat and Republican administrations for decades, going back over 20 years, failed to recognize the seriousness of this threat, failed to remove it. And we know that North Korea has these nuclear weapons because they see how the United States in Libya, for example, guaranteed Gaddafi, we're not going to go after you. You should get rid of your nuclear weapons. He did. Then we went and led an attack that toppled Gaddafi, launching Libya into chaos that we are still seeing the results of today. North Korea sees what we did in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, with those false reports of weapons of mass destruction, and now seeing in Iran how President Trump is decertifying a nuclear deal that prevented Iran from developing their nuclear weapons, threatening the very existence in the agreement that was made. So yes, we've got to understand North Korea is holding on to these nuclear weapons because they think it is their only protection from the United States coming in and doing to them what the United States has done to so many countries throughout history.
Was it a mistake for the United States to take out Gaddafi and Hussein?
It was, absolutely.
That was beautiful. That was George Stephanopoulos from This Week. It was on the weekend edition. And she said, he comes out and he's like, was it a mistake? I mean, do you really think it was a mistake for us to take out Gaddafi and Saddam? And he sounded almost confused, like he couldn't believe the words were coming out of her mouth after everything that's happened. Do you think it was a mistake? Yes, of course it was a mistake. You blithering idiot. How much more evidence do you need? What? Why? Gaddafi, all of the problems in the Middle East, Libya is in turmoil. Iraq is still in turmoil. I mean, what idiot would, with a straight face on his own show, come out and say, do you really think it was a mistake to go and oust Gaddafi? Yeah, I do. How ridiculous. But you see, that position takes courage. Even George Stephanopoulos was shocked that she was saying it. We, of course, have been saying that for a long time. Scott Horton's show, if you really like to talk about this kind of stuff and listen about it, Scott's one of the best guys I know. You should go check out his show. But he discusses his stuff ad nauseum. It's like, yeah, absolutely, it was a problem. Yeah, absolutely, we should have never gone in there. Let me count the reasons why. And yet, Ted Cruz is considered to have the courageous position. Courage, folks, is being really afraid of what's going to happen and choosing to go forward anyway. It's not knowing how people are going to react to your position or your ideas and being willing to say them. Courage is being terrified and still doing what you think is the right thing. Ted Cruz's position doesn't require any courage, doesn't require any effort, doesn't even require him to think. All it requires is for him to regurgitate what his base will support and what will bring him in the most donations. And let us not forget that politics is a business, ladies and gentlemen. Those people are not there for your benefit. They're not there to support you. They are not looking out for you. As much as Ted Cruz would like you to believe that, that's not why he's there. He's there because it's his job. And the most important thing about having a job is keeping that job, especially when you're in politics, because it's a good job. Most of these guys, they could never support the kind of lifestyle they have any other way. So anyway, just be cautious of it, all right? Now, I want to turn the balance of the show over and talk a little bit about California and the poverty crisis that they're having there. I'll read a little bit from the article here and kind of overview it for you, and then we'll talk. I'll twist the article a little bit, not twist it in terms of contort it, but twist it in terms of I'm going to twist the angle that the article went into a different direction, so that hopefully you can understand a little bit better where I'm coming from. But it says, California, if you want to look at the highest poverty rates, it's not Mississippi, it's not New Mexico or West Virginia. I guess they assume in Los Angeles that those are hillbilly states and that those would have the most backwoods, poor hillbillies in it. They said, no, that's not it. It's actually California. That's according to the Census Bureau's supplemental poverty measure, which factors in the cost of housing, food, utilities, and clothing, and which includes non-cash government assistance as a form of income. Now, it says in some cases, individuals in California with incomes above 200% of the poverty line receive benefits. California state and local spending spent nearly $1 billion from 1992 to 2005 on public welfare programs, including cash assistance payments, vendor payments, and other welfare payments. And they make the argument in here that there are other states that didn't, like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Virginia, who did welfare reform that required much stronger work requirements giving these individuals and making it essentially telling these folks, if you want to receive payments, you got to get out there and work. And unfortunately, they said that the government in California resisted that. They didn't want to have any like work criteria, work restrictions on there, that they wanted just to be able to hand out money. And they said this is one of the problems that has led to the state being one of the poorest. Now, there is no doubt, there's no denying the fact that anytime you hand people money and you do it over a long enough period of time and you couple that with a discussion with them, that there is no way that they can get ahead without it. There are lots of poor people in America, but I focus on the black community because this is very pervasive there, is that the black community has been told for decades that they cannot get ahead, that racism and the man and whether it's overt or covert racism, whether people realize it or not, everybody's actually racist, and that's why you can't get ahead. That's why nobody treats you right. No, it's not the fact that you can't show up to work on time. No, it's not the fact that you don't have any skills. No, it's not the fact that you speak broken English. No. It has to do simply with the fact that you are black. And since everyone is racist, and since you cannot get ahead, the only way that you're ever going to get what you're due is by voting for me, and I will make sure that you are taken care of. And every time, it's never enough, guys. There's never enough money for those kinds of people. So they're always coming back going, I need more of this, I need more of that. I don't have enough for housing, I can barely live. And the whole time the government official is saying, yes, well, just vote for me and I'm going to give you all of that. I'm going to go and fight for you because no one else is fighting for you and you need a fighter in Washington and that's what I'm going to do. And the whole time government is really just holding them in poverty. They're keeping them down by telling them they can't get ahead. There's no sense in trying. All you can ever hope to do is continue to reelect me or someone else like me if you ever want to have a shot of being anything. Now, when you couple those two together, you create institutional poverty, generational poverty. When there is no incentive to work, when in fact the incentive is to not work, when it is considered a status symbol to have children at a young age. This is true in the black community in many places. It is a status symbol to have children at a certain age because they game the system with children. When that becomes the issue, when we get away from personal responsibility, I'm not even going to talk, I could talk about family values, and absolutely I think that's a big part of it. Mother and father in the home together, which of course the welfare system helps them to split up because the mother makes more money if the father is not in the home. Therefore, it drives a wedge between husband and wife and boyfriend and girlfriend, where now families are broken up and they're not living together. That's a big problem too. But if you just take personal responsibility out of the mix, if you stop demanding exceptionalism from people, whatever that is for them, because some people are smarter than other people, some people are stronger than other people, some people are faster, but everyone is exceptional in their own way. If your intelligence only allows you to dig ditches for a living, that's the best you could possibly do or hope for, then go be the best daggum ditch digger that you can be. On the crew of ditch diggers, be the very best one. Teach your children to be the very best one. If they're a C student, teach them to be the very best C student that they can be. That there is a responsibility for you to be excellent, exceptional. When we put that kind of expectation on ourselves and on those around us, it's amazing. I will tell you one of the things that I've learned. I've been back and forth here from California for about a year, and as you guys know, I'm living here now. And one of the things about being in Los Angeles is there are a lot. Almost everybody is doing something in media or television. They're producing something. They're involved in music. It's that kind of a city, right? It gets old really, really quickly, but the creativity here is amazing. It really is. And there are a lot of really phenomenal people doing incredibly cool work. And you start looking around, you're like, man, I need to up my game. Did you see what he was doing? That's incredible. And man, that guy's working night and day, getting his next film off the ground, and he put together this whole crew for free, and they were shooting. And you look at that and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like it's inspiring, and it also sets the bar high. Like the expectation is really high on what you ought to be doing, because so many people from a creative and work standpoint are doing amazing things, and you're recognizing that a lot of them aren't making any money, which shows you just how difficult it is in this real world, in this environment, when you're surrounded by exceptional people, to be exceptional yourself. It pushes you higher and higher and higher. And when you take that away, when everybody around you is doing nothing and everybody's sitting around and they're all complaining, and the discussion is not what are you doing to advance yourself, what are you doing to improve your condition, what are you doing to create exceptional work, and rather the conversation is how do you game the system to get the most from the government handout that you're getting, you get institutional generational poverty. Now, you can add in a work component to force people to get off their butts and go out and actually get a job if they want to receive a portion of their welfare benefits. But ultimately, you have to change the dynamic. That's not going to do it. That's not going to solve the poverty problem in California. And in fact, that's not even the real issue. The real issue is the regulation inside of California. So if you take a look at it, take housing, for example. They have done in California, they have created what are called, let me see, what do they call these places? More than 4 in 10 households spend more than 30% of their income on housing in 2015. The shortage of available units has driven prices ever higher, far above what incomes have increased. It says counties and local governments have imposed restrictive land use regulations that drove up the prices of land and dwellings. Not only that, but citizens themselves are also upset about it. Nobody wants a new house built in their neighborhood. Number one, if you build a whole bunch more houses, that's going to drive down the price of housing, and everybody's buying these expensive houses. Nobody wants to see the value go down. Secondly, nobody wants a new housing development in their backyard. They like being able to look out there and see no housing developments and see a nice area. They don't want to see the old areas of Venice being torn down and high rises going up. And so what's happening is you drive all over Los Angeles and all over, they've got all these new apartment complexes going up, but not a lot of new housing. Why? Because it's not financially feasible to build those houses. Median home price here is something like $450,000. That's the average home price. You go to San Francisco. You know what it is in San Francisco? It's like $1.2 million. They make it so difficult for you to build, so difficult for you to hire. They put so many taxes and restrictions on the land and what you can use it for that it makes it virtually impossible for you to get ahead. Housing prices rise, rental rates rise. And then you've got people who were making a good living, who may still be making a very good living, but are still finding it hard to live and survive because they live in a place where the government has gotten in the way. Now, here's where I want to deviate from the article. The article talks about how terrible it is and, how government agencies always seek to maximize their budgets through which they acquire and increase power and status, and that therefore that's what California has done with 883,000 jobs. And at the end of it, what oftentimes people will say is, well, that's why it's so terrible. That's why you shouldn't live out there. That's why government's bad. And just look at how hard it is. And you're never going to get ahead with all these things going on. That's what the government, that's what your politicians are telling your low-income black community. I don't want to do that to you. I want to try and create some sort of idea of exceptionalism in your mind. That no matter what happens in your life, no matter what your life throws at you, that you can get ahead, that you can achieve a level of exceptionalism, a level of wealth and opportunity that you didn't think was possible. The difference is you've got to get off your butt and work. You actually have to get out and work the system. So, for example, I'll just tell you what I've been doing all day. I got up at 5:30 in the morning and I started working on content for the podcasting domination course that I'm doing. And I worked on that until about 8 o'clock this morning. And then at 8 o'clock, I started show prep for this show. And I did show prep all the way through. I grabbed a little bit of something to eat, and then I'm in here recording the show. It's now 2:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday. As soon as I'm done here, I'm back to the house and I'm sitting down and I'm producing more content. At some point, I've got to go out and I've got to get some stuff and do some shopping, and then I'm back and I'm working all night. I've got other programs that I'm getting ready to start. We're going to be re-releasing the Trading Mastery series that I did, and so I've got to get promotional videos done for that, and I've got to get copy written, and I've got to get videos recorded. All that stuff has to happen. It requires my constant attention at certain times from 5:30 in the morning until midnight. That's my work schedule. Now, you may look at it and say, I don't ever want to do that. I'm not willing to work that hard, Jason. I don't want to be successful. If that's what being successful means, I'm not willing to do it. I'm not talking to you. Because you are the type of person who will live in mediocrity for your life. Now, every day doesn't have to be 5:30 to midnight. It doesn't. Some days I just don't work because I'm exhausted. I've come through. I've done all the promotion. The money has come in, and now it's time to just sit back and take a few days off. Maybe I take a week off. Done that before. But the point I'm trying to make is when it's time to work, we work. When it's time to learn, we learn. We're constantly increasing our own human capital. Before the show today, I was watching videos on marketing because I wanted a refresher. So I'm watching some videos on some courses that I took a long time ago on marketing because I wanted a refresher on what I was doing in my own marketing campaigns. Constantly learning, constantly improving, constantly trying and testing and improving. That's what we do if we want to survive, if we want to thrive. And frankly, guys, I never wanted to survive. I always wanted to be exceptional. And guys, I don't want this to be like a sales pitch or anything, but I opened up the online business Kickstarter course again. It's been closed down for about the past month or so. I just reopened it at jasonstapleton.com. Just click on courses. You can go there. If you are interested at all in taking control of your own financial future, one of the ways you can do that is to own your own business. And the online business Kickstarter course is designed to help teach you how to build that business. I take basically a discussion about how I made my money online, the information business that I started, and I try and walk you through everything that you need to know to start that business and to get it off the ground. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not for somebody who thinks that they're just going to make money while they sleep. It's actually really difficult to get a business off the ground. Now, the course helps immensely because I tell you all the neat little tricks that I use and I've learned over the years to help gain members and gain sales quicker and faster. But the truth is, there's no guarantees. And it's going to require you work your full-time job and then work another, 3, 4, 5 hours on your business when you get home. There's a picture I have on my Instagram, and it's at Jason Stapleton 0321. Jason Stapleton 0321 if you want to follow me on Instagram. But there is a picture there. It's one that my friend Akil Stokes posted to his site, and it has to do with entrepreneurs. And of course, now I have 3G, and I can't see the stupid picture, but I'll do it this way. It says, entrepreneur, noun, a person who's up late working 100 hours for themselves to avoid working 40 hours for someone else. It's about taking personal responsibility and controlling your own destiny. That's what an entrepreneur does. And if you have that kind of drive and you have that kind of hustle, and you learn to do the things that I've been talking about on this show, increasing your human capital, constantly learning the value of sales and marketing, you're never going to be hungry. You will always find a way. But you have to be willing to do that. So it's not California. There's so many. I'm driving around California. There's more Maseratis and there's more Teslas than you can possibly fathom. They got thousands and thousands of these $1 million homes lined up. There's money there. People are living in California. The question is, are you sitting around complaining about how life's too hard, about how you're never going to get ahead, about how you're never going to be able to do it, or are you out there working to produce the kind of life that other people will envy? Only you can answer that question. I can tell you what I'm going to be doing. You do what you want to do. And I'll be back here tomorrow to do this all over again. Until then, guys, be safe, be good. I'll talk to you soon.